Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting now. We just finished our public hearing. Our regular council meeting for Tuesday, December 1st. It's currently about 7:07. I'd like to call to order our regular council meeting. Approval of the agenda. The recommendation would read.
That the agenda be approved as circulated.
Someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Public input. Public is permitted to provide comments to council on any item shown on this meeting agenda. A 2-minute time limit will apply to speakers. I will ask that no comments be made regarding the public hearing that was just presented, as council cannot receive any more information until we deliberate it later on in the agenda. So is anybody wanting to make any comments at public question period? No? Okay, we'll move on then to adoption of the minutes. The minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 17th, 2020. Could I get somebody to, or the recommendation would read?
That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 17th, 2020 be adopted as circulated.
Someone to move those? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from those minutes? No? Okay, we have a consent agenda. We have just one item on the consent agenda, and that's the appointments to a couple committees. Could somebody move the consent agenda? Moved, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. And thank you to all those for putting your name forward and volunteering your time to sit on the committees for the Village of Anmore. Move on to 9A, legislative reports, water rates and regulations bylaw amendment, hydrant use, a report dated November 27th, 2020 from Lance Forte, Operations Superintendent. Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. So this bylaw amendment is coming forward to you through sort of a regular review of our various bylaws. And Mr. Fortier put together this report and the amending bylaw as a way to basically update some of the standards that are going to be required, mostly by contractors who are using the village's water. We want to ensure that when they're connecting into our hydrants, they're using approved connections that aren't going to cause or pose a risk for causing any contaminants to our water or damage to our infrastructure. So the new bylaw outlines that. As well, we're updating the bond that would be required in case there is any damage from $500 to $3,500, which is a more reasonable cost if the hydrant needed to be replaced. And finally, we're looking at having a flat rate for usage. Previously, we were charging a per cubic meter rate, but now we're looking at making sure that we are going to be recovering the cost of the water, as well as the cost it takes for our public works crews to go and actually witness the connection and disconnection as well. So those are all the changes that are in the bylaw. They're within the report, and I would be happy to answer questions council may have.
Do you have, is there a resolution that you could read?
Yeah, absolutely. So the recommendation is that council grant first, second, and third reading to Anmore Water Rates and Regulations Bylaw Amendment Bylaw number 635-2020.
Someone to move that? Moved, seconded. I'll open it for discussion. Any discussion? I know that we've had some big issues down on Ludlow Lane, and I think this was precipitated by it. And I tell you, I think it's long overdue, and I really feel for the public works that are trying to protect our water system when people that aren't necessarily qualified are tying into it and that. So I'm really pleased to see this. So thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And thank Mr. Forte for bringing this forward. I'll move on to 9B, zoning bylaw amendment, infill development. The recommendation would read. Oh, sorry. This zoning bylaw amendment, yeah.
There's a possibility there may be an infill coming in on my property, so I should recuse myself.
If you, it's completely up to you if you want to recuse yourself. Okay. Okay. If Ms. Elrick, if you could read the.
The recommendation would be that council grant third reading and adopt Anmore Zoning Bylaw Amendment Bylaw 634-2020.
Someone to move that? Moved, seconded. I'll open up for discussion. This was precipitated from the public hearing that we just had. Mr. Trowbridge, Councillor Trowbridge.
I'm both. So, you know, just a couple of things that I want to clarify. So none of this has changed, as you said at the opening, but we've created the RS1A, which now just sort of pre-books this spot for the zoning, which is where infill will fall.
That's correct. So if a property owner were to come forward to request a rezoning for infill development, and it was successful, the resulting zone would be RS1A.
Perfect. And in RS1A, our normal zoning in RS1, well, actually throughout the village is a density of 1.88, I should be clear. And this one provides for 2.04, which it always has since 2019. But that allows infill property owners and then becoming developers of their property a little more flexibility for a higher density than would be allowed on any other style of property currently within Anmore.
Yes, that is my understanding. That is correct, and that it provides a little bit of flexibility in terms of various properties and what they're made up of, and some restrictions that like the subdivision may cause. So it does just allow for that additional flexibility.
I think the point I want to make, this part is not a question, I just want to make a point that it's a benefit to infill recipients in that even a comprehensive development, a CD zone, which can go down to a quarter acre and so on, they still have a density of 1.88. So this is a heightened density, so to speak, within our village. Not to change the look or anything like that. It doesn't affect that. It just allows better land use for irregular shaped properties and so on.
Correct.
One final question is to do with setbacks. The setbacks haven't changed, and back when Councillor Waverink and myself were on the task force, I think you called it, Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Yeah, one of the things we wanted to adhere to were RS1 setbacks to make sure that the character of the zoning and all that sort of stuff looked the same. But given that you don't necessarily bisect a property, that as long as it meets the densities and the frontages and all of those requirements, you could have, say, 1/3 of an acre and then 2/3 of an acre as part of that property. On that 1/3 of an acre, there may be a situation where the 10 meter or the rear 7.6 or the exterior 7.6, or more importantly, the interior 5, may need some kind of requirement. Do we have a vehicle already existing to make adjustments on those minor adjustments if required?
Yeah, so depending on the nature of the adjustment that's going to be requested by the property owner, there's a couple of options. One would be that following the successful rezoning and subdivision, the homeowner could come forward with a Board of Variance request, an application for the Board of Variance to consider making changes to those requirements. If they are determined to be a little bit more than just minor adjustments, then the homeowner would have the ability to submit for a development variance permit, and those come through council for consideration. Correct.
Okay, that's it. It all makes sense to me, and I think there's a benefit to the village. So.
Councillor
I
Webering.
just had some clarifications, and probably should have asked them a long time ago, and I think I know the answers. But for example, 9.2 point. Oh, sorry. 9.2.42. 9.2.4A2. Notwithstanding this restriction, a principal building with a gross floor area of not more than 232.4 meters squared will be permitted on any parcel. What kind of situation would that be? Is that like for a funny shaped lot that's small with a big riparian area, like you can always build at least, I think that works out to 2,500 square feet? Is that a question for our planner?
Or more perhaps even for our building inspector. So as these requirements are all essentially mirroring what's in our RS1,
Yeah.
I don't have the history in terms of it
Okay.
being included for infill development specifically, but I can certainly follow up with our building inspector and have him answer that question for you.
Yeah, because they're kind of technical questions. Maybe what I'll do is I'll email you,
Sure,
Julie.
yeah.
It's just, I'm trying to look for examples of where that would apply. Like, where would we have to build a 2,500 square foot house, or could we build no more? I think the thing is, like, if you've got a funny shaped lot, regardless of the restrictions based on FAR, you can build a 2,500 square foot house and a 600 square foot accessory building.
Right.
So-
Mayor McEwen.
I may be able to shed a little light, just because I've been going through this
Oh, okay.
on my own parcel. I believe that already exists within the subdivision zoning rules in RS1.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and I
you're
think
right.
if you go back there, you'll see it's the same numbers, it's been lifted out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know that 100%, but I remember back in the day when we were on that panel, we
Yeah.
were discussing that.
Yeah, I remember that too, and I
Yeah.
just can't remember the answer. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all I have.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, see none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Halliwell. Okay, we'll now move, yeah, we'll bring back Councillor Laidler if he hasn't left.
Let's tell him we've turned down his application. Sorry, David.
Okay, we'll now move on to new business, 11A, Anmore Green Estates Local Area Service Bylaw. Verbal update provided by our CAO, Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. So this is further to the recent announcement in relation to Anmore Green Estates and how that project is moving forward. One of the last pieces that was negotiated over the summer months was the agreement of the Anmore Green Estates strata compensating School District 43 for the use of the right-of-way where their sewer pipe is going to connect from Anmore Green Estates land through to the pipe that is in Port Moody, and it was agreed that $140,000 would be paid by Anmore Green Estates to the strata. In order to assist the strata financially, it was also agreed by the school district that the payments for the payment of $140,000 would be spread over 5 years so that it wasn't such a burden in 1 year. And at that time, the village was asked to consider whether or not we would act as the collector from the from Anmore Green Estate strata and pay those monies over a 5-year period to the School District 43. And so this is a mechanism, the Local Area Service Bylaw, which would allow us to do that. So essentially, it would be very similar to the other Local Area Service Bylaw that Council adopted earlier this year in relation to the other costs that would have to be recovered. However, this one would only be for a 5-year term. So once all the money had been collected and passed on to the school district, this would no longer be required. In any event, it is needed in order to facilitate our ability to collect it. And the reason that we're initiating the process as opposed to how it had been done previously, which was a petition by the Anmore Green Estate strata membership, is this is just less of a burden on the Anmore Green Estates strata members to have to sort of collect the signatures and bring them forward. So there is a slightly different process. This is the initiation of that process, and between Ms. Elric and I will be following through with the required legislative steps that are needed. But if Council is in agreement, I can read the recommendation and then answer any questions you may have. So the recommendation is that Council directs staff to begin the process to initiate a local area service bylaw for Anmore Green Estates pursuant to Section 213 of the Community Charter to enable the village to collect $140,000 over a 5-year period on behalf of School District 43 as compensation for the statutory right-of-way to allow for completion of the David Avenue Regional Sewer Connection Project.
Someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any further discussion? Thank you for all the hard work for everybody getting this done. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Nice to get this behind us and then help out our residents. We'll move on to 11B, COVID-19 Village Hall Safety Plan. Ms. Halliwell.
Me again. Thank you, Mayor McEwen. So this safety plan is coming forward, and I'm seeking council's approval for it. Just in light of recent recommendations from various legal counsel and other local government sort of professionals. So this, the Village Hall, the COVID-19 Village Hall Safety Plan was created when the pandemic hit, and the village, and myself particularly, needed to start implementing some changes to how we operate in order to make sure that the health and safety of the employees and the public were maintained. And so it has been a bit of an evolving document and will continue to be as the pandemic evolves as well. And so the policy here has been in place since March. It's been updated twice. But tonight I'm seeking council's endorsement so it becomes a formal policy as opposed to one that I, as the CAO, implements. So the recommendation is that council approve policy 69 Village Hall Safety Plan as attached to this agenda.
So moved, seconded. I'll open up for discussion. Councillor Wevering.
Well, I like it. I like it so much I've adapted it to our company as our safety plan. So I've been through it with a fine-tooth comb. Very good.
Good.
Thank
They
you.
say that the ultimate in flattery is copying, so good work, good work. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we move on to 11C, release of in-camera items. A verbal update provided by Karen Elrick, our Manager of Corporate Services.
Thank you. So at the beginning of the year, staff committed to council that we would periodically bring forward items from in-camera meetings for council to consider whether it would be appropriate for them to be released to the public. So of course council also releases items on an ad hoc basis. Some examples include tonight's release of the committee appointments, which was made in camera. So we did bring forward a report in July. So we're reporting back for the end of the year, and there is no formal written report. There have been 4 in-camera meetings held since the summer break, and there are no items that are recommended for release at this time, but I just wanted to give council that update and also the public the update that we are continuing to review those items, and we'll do so again in the new year.
Perfect.
So I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions at all? Thank you very much. Move on to the mayor's report. I just wanted to put a big thank you up to our Public Works Department and also David from Deca Lights, Christmas lights, regarding they worked all in conjunction, and our Christmas lights, which were supposed to be on tonight, are on a timer. We're starting them this year. Unfortunately, this year there won't be a big ceremony nor an event, which is really unfortunate because it really sort of sets off the Christmas spirit around here. But please come and see the lights and make sure that you socially distance, and as you're walking in the evenings, please come and enjoy them. November 26th, myself and a few members of council participated in a Zoom call with those residents who have shown an interest from a trades perspective about supplying or their perspective on the new Village Hall from a trades point of view. It was a really good discussion. It lasted about an hour long. Anybody interested, still you have time to bring forth, put forth an email to Ms. Halliwell. I'd also like to, which I'm sure she will be talking about, Councillor Cryer. I've got quite an extensive collection of clothing that's going to be coming over to your house. Thank you for all that you do for the share, and I think you'll talk about it, but it's quite a collection. And the other thing is please, people, as numbers are increasing with this COVID thing, please be careful. Make sure that you're following adequate protocols, staying within your family bubble, limiting travel, and getting out into nature and walking around. We're going to be blessed with some really nice weather here in the next week or two, so please just get out and say hi to your neighbors from afar and enjoy these times. As strict as we can be, it's going to help us later on in the month when there's going to be challenging times. So that's all I have. Thank you. I'll open up to Councillor's report.
No, you go first.
Okay. Ladies
Thank you.
first. Councillor
Thank
Cryer.
you, Mayor McEwen. As Mayor McEwen suggested, yes. Honestly, speechless at the number of donations that have come my way, and there are more coming. My garage is full, and I've let 3030 Gordon Transitional House and Shelter know that we have a truckload coming. So thank you to Ms. Halliwell for arranging for the village truck to take everything. Every day, things are showing up on my porch. So I'm still accepting donations, and if you have any questions at all about what you have, feel free to email me. There are items that we need, but there is a place for almost everything in the community. So I want to do a special shout out to Mike Laundry at Westside Pest Control, who donated cash, which is going for a hearing aid for a newly homeless senior citizen at 3030 Gordon, who does not have the funds to get a hearing aid. So he is overjoyed. 3030 Gordon is amazed at the outpouring, and it was just really, it was good to be able to share that good news. So thank you, Mike Laundry and Westside Pest Control. I also want to give an update on Candy Cane Lane. Special thanks to Georgia Lyons, who brought that to council and is engaged and just an amazing young woman in our community. Unfortunately, at this point in time, with the current provincial health order, we are not able to do a drive-through event. I would like to be hopeful on December 7th that Dr. Bonnie will change that, but I can't see how that would happen. So sadly, I think we will have to cancel that. And appreciation to those homes on Ravenswood who have already decorated. I know that we will still enjoy that as a village, and we look forward to next year. So we will really take this up a notch, the Candy Cane Lane. So thank you to everyone for working hard on that. That's all.
Good. Councillor Weber.
Yeah, I think Councillor Cryer mentioned this last meeting that she attended one of the Metrovan forums on racism, and I did one a couple of weeks ago, and I was really, really glad I did. And I think one of the big things I got out of it, it's not just good enough to be non-racist, you must be actively anti-racist, and that really stuck with me. And that'll be my new commitment. And you start to realize we don't experience a lot of racism in Anmore. It's not a place that's very diverse, so you don't notice it. But visible minorities notice it, and it's very prevalent. And I think as community leaders, we have to do our part to fight it, actively fight it. Also want to mention that I have attended a couple of the engineering and design meetings for the Village Hall. I'm taking time off work to attend those. I think they're very useful. It's very, very complicated building, any sort of institutional commercial building. We've never done this before. We want to get it right. I'm going to put in that extra time to make sure we do get it right. So bear with us. We're all hoping for the best result for the least amount of money, and that's our goal. And that's all I have.
Good. Okay. I'll move on to our Chief Administrative Officer's report.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. Just a couple of items from me. I think everybody has seen now that the paving has essentially been completed on the pathways along Sunnyside Road and East Road. So thanks everybody for your feedback on those. The contractors are still in the village this week fixing up a couple of deficiencies. And then there are a few items that unfortunately will have to wait until next year. Some of it due to weather and some of it due to other contractors. So the pedestrian bridge on Sunnyside can't actually be removed until BC Hydro replaces something, and they're putting that off until next year. The topsoil and the seeding that's going to happen, we are going to be planting wildflowers, as had previously been noted, and so that's really it's not a very good time to do that at this point in December, so we're going to wait until the spring to make sure that it's as successful as possible. And finally, we do have the pads poured for the bus shelters, one on East Road and one on Sunnyside, but the manufacturer isn't going to be able to deliver until January. So those will be going in as soon as they're received as well, but they'll just basically be able to be dropped on, excuse me, to the pads that are already there. Excuse me. And like I said, all the other work should be completed by the end of this week. So that's been great. Thank you very much to Chris Boyd, who oversaw that project, and I think it's a vast improvement for everybody. I did want to just also mention, for those of you who aren't aware, that the Village Hall has reclosed to being available to the public at 3 days a week. So we're open now by appointment only, and we're mainly looking to book appointments on Monday mornings and Thursday mornings. And that is in response to Dr. Bonnie Henry's recent health orders, as well as her request for wherever possible, anybody to be able to be working from home should be working from home. So so far that's going well, and we'll continue to monitor what her directives are, and we'll either remain closed after December 7th, which is the current expiration of the order, or if she extends it, then we'll look to continue that as well. And that's it for me.
Good. Thank you very much. Great work on the roads, getting lots of compliments on it. We have some general correspondence, communication dated November 26 from the school district regarding chair and vice chair appointments. I'll now open up to public question period. Nobody? Then I'm going to move to adjourn. Move, seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming out.